warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome back and thank you for joining us in the last session of the first day of AAOIFI-IsDB 20th Annual Islamic Banking and Finance Conference. Our third session explores how the Islamic finance literacy can go beyond the traditional training and enhance inclusion and strengthen Sharia decision-making. This session is titled Islamic Finance Literacy and Awareness, Going Beyond Capacity Building. Back in 2008, I conducted the first Islamic finance training session. And in the last slide of the 20 slides presentation, I listed the challenges that face Islamic finance. And guess what was the first challenge on the list? Yes, indeed, capacity building. So here we are, 17 years later, talking about this pressing issue. For this session, I would like to invite the chairman, Mr. Hamza Bawazir, who is the Secretary General of SIBAFI. Also joining us in the panel is Professor Muhammad Sharif Al-Amri, who is the Professor of Islamic Economic and Finance in Istanbul Sabah ad-Din Zaim University. From the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, I would like to invite Dr. Muhammad Imran, who is the Group Head of Al-Bank Al-Falah, to join us on stage. I'm very pleased to invite my professor, Dr. Humayun Dar, who is a great leader and an expert in Islamic finance, also the Director General at Cambridge Institute of Islamic Finance. Dr. Bilal Lawada Bata, the former Secretary General of IOSB, please join us on stage. Mr. Chairman and panelists, the floor is yours.
شكرا لك لكلامك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته جميعا. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين. It is a great honor to welcome you all to this significant session titled Islamic Financial Literacy and Awareness.
Can become informed participants who demand genuine Sharia-compliant solutions and exert community pressure for a real Islamic economy, finance and banking system. A well-informed society holds institutions accountable, promotes ethical conduct, and ensures that Islamic finance evolves as a values-driven movement rather than a product-driven market. However, most Islamic financial literacy efforts today remain focused at the micro level. Personal finance, banking products, and basic Sharia compliance awareness. Very few initiatives address the macroeconomic dimension. The underlying infrastructure, regulatory frameworks, and monetary systems that shape Islamic banking and financial behavior. As a result, we often find ourselves trying to fit Islamic products into a conventional system that was never designed for them, which perpetuates doubt and compromise. What we truly need is a maqasid-aligned macroeconomic theory, one that supports justice, transparency, inclusion, and ethical prosperity. This shift requires not only intellectual frameworks, but also cultural and educational transformation. One of the most powerful means to achieve this transformation is storytelling. Real stories from the marketplace of Medina to today's financial realities can humanize Islamic finance, simplify its principles, and connect values to daily decision-making. Storytelling transforms abstract financial ethics into relatable experiences. It makes students, customers, and policymakers alike see that Islamic finance is not a niche or theoretical field, but a living ethical system that touches every part of our economic lives. If we want Islamic finance literacy to reach hearts as well as minds, we must teach it through narratives that inspire, through case studies that engage, and through examples that prove the moral and social value of Islamic economic principles. This panel is an opportunity to reflect on these deeper questions. How can we expand Islamic financial literacy from a micro level focus on products and services to a macro level understanding of systems and purpose? And how can storytelling, technology, and education work together to bring Islamic economics closer to society? With us today are distinguished scholars and practitioners whose expertise spans academia, policy, banking, and global thought leadership. Together we aim to explore how Islamic financial literacy can become a bridge between knowledge and authenticity, between individual awareness and systematic reform. I am deeply honored to moderate this discussion and to learn from your valuable insights, my distinguished speakers. May our dialogue today contribute meaningfully to the ongoing journey toward the truly maqasid-driven Islamic economy, one that only informs minds, but also one that not only informs minds, but also inspires hearts. So for our first question, to Dr. Professor Muhammad Sharif Al-Amri and to Dr. Humayun, from an academic and conceptual lens, how should we define Islamic financial literacy distinct from conventional financial literacy, and why is this distinction crucial for both ethical awareness and sustainable economic growth and for achieving the macroeconomic objective of the society? We start with Professor Sharif.
الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين. It is a great pleasure to be here to join this distinguished panel to discuss such critical topic actually, which is Islamic financial literacy. I would like to extend my gratitude and also appreciation to AAOIFI, ISDB, ISDBI, as well as to the Central Bank of Bahrain for a remarkable conference, which is basically also addressing key contemporary issues, which is one of them that we are discussing in this panel. So basically, when we look at the literatures, we do not find really a standardized, to say, definition of Islamic financial literacy, but we can say that it extends beyond actually the understanding of money management and investments. It integrates also the Sharia principles, particularly the prohibition of riba, gharar, and also the promotion of justice, transparency, and also risk sharing. So it encompasses moral awareness, social accountability, and understanding also the economic objective of Islam, or what we call maqasid al-Sharia in Arabic, which includes justice, public benefit, as well as wealth circulation. How this distinct from the conventional financial literacy? So unlike the conventional financial literacy focus, which prioritizes basically the efficiency and return optimization, Islamic financial literacy aims to align financial behavior with ethical well-being and socio-economic justice.
Thank you very much. Dr. Humayun, any thoughts?
Thank you very much. Can you hear me? Right. When it comes to financial literacy,
Excuse me, the mic.
Maybe from inside.
when it comes to financial literacy, it's all about dissemination of information about the benefits of finance. This is an approach taken by the regulators. So when a regulator promotes financial literacy, they are basically promoting the awareness about the benefits of becoming part of the financial system. There is emphasis on increase in savings, for example, how to take care of your money, etc. This is the conventional financial literacy. When it comes to Islamic financial literacy, it is not very different from that one. We have to emphasize upon the benefits of Islamic finance. Benefits of Islamic finance distinctly different from the conventional finance. This is the objective of the Islamic financial literacy. So we have to disseminate information on the benefits amongst the customers, amongst the banking community. Of course, we have to educate the regulators, governments, and all other stakeholders, with an ultimate objective to convince them this is something which is better than what is happening in the market. When it comes to the customers, we have to tell them that you have this conventional option A. If you switch from this one to come to an Islamic option B, you will have these benefits. If the customer is convinced, they will switch to Islamic banking, and of course this will promote Islamic banking and finance in that society or economy. What we have been doing, we have been actually trying to convince ourselves, the bankers, what are the benefits. And of course, as bankers, Islamic bankers, we know what are the benefits which are accruing to us as a bank, and of course our shareholders as well. This is why in the last 50 years, Islamic banking and finance has emerged as a supply-driven phenomenon. Okay. The banks would come in the market and they would supply Islamic financial services, and there would be demand coming from the market. We have not sufficiently convinced the regulators of the benefits of Islamic banking. This is why they say we would treat, in most cases, we would treat Islamic banking just like conventional. You are banks, we would treat you like banks. And in most cases, we have not been able to convince the governments. Governments, they would like to see the benefits of Islamic banking and finance on a macro level. What would be the effect of Islamic banking on inflation and price stability, for example? What would be the effect on financial inclusion? What would be the effect on the exchange rate stability and so on? This is an area where we have been very weak. And I think going forward, we have to look into this aspect of objectives of financial literacy. And I believe this is something we are going to discuss.
Thank you very much. Dr. Muhammad Imran, why, in your view, is capacity building among Islamic finance professionals not enough to achieve true literacy across the ecosystem? What gaps do you see between training within institutions and awareness among customers?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala
Allahumma salli ala
Sayyidina. It's a very relevant question. In fact, when the Master of Ceremony was just introducing the session, Mr. Chairman, she mentioned that at this very stage, 17 years back, she was discussing the same topic of capacity building. So, and of course, maybe after 17 years, this is a problem that we'll be discussing, because it's not a bad problem to have. This means that there's a demand, and the main reason that we have lost our way is that we have detached the education and the literacy of Islamic finance from the mainstream teaching. So if you need to understand that when there is absolutely a new concept which has to be disseminated to a mass market, what is the best way to teach? So if we go back to the Holy Quran, we see that the audience to which the Holy Quran was being recited, there was just less than 1% of the people who were literate. Makkah predominantly was not a very learned society. Very few people were able to read or write. But how did they relate to the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in such an effective way? And that was the stories, the power of stories. Human beings are the only creature of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we know of who can listen to, who can relate to, who can understand to the stories. That's why we see that when, even in Surah Baqarah, when we start understanding the first surah, a story comes up that is related to the story of the cow, then the story of Bani Israel, then the story of Harut and Marut, and it goes on. So there is something hidden at a very deep psychological level where we humans understand, relate to, and remember stories. Unfortunately, we do not have much text related to Islamic finance in which we have compelling stories to tell, and that can play a key role in capacity building. So with the consultation of our learned Sharia scholars and some of my friends, I started writing a book in which I just tried to compile the stories that I had come across during my life. So I'll just elaborate one single story with your permission, Mr. Chairman,
Yeah, please.
and that will show that how strong storytelling can be in terms of clarifying a concept. So whenever we are traveling on the plane or we are sitting with our friends, there's just one question that comes again and again and again, and that is, Islamic banking looks exactly similar to conventional banking. What's the difference? Now, this is a question that we have been hearing for a very long time. One way is to explain there's a musharaka, then there's a asset-backed management, then there's this and that, but a common person doesn't understand into the technical details. There's another way. In terms of explaining it, in terms of a story. So there's a real life story. One of my teachers, Mufti Hassan Kaleem, who in fact is a student of Sheikh Taqi Usmani, he used to teach me Fiqhul Mamlat in Darul Uloom, Karachi. And the first journey that he did outside Pakistan was to London. So a person who's been born and brought up in a religious institution has never been out of Pakistan. First time he was getting cultural shock of going to England. So that was Salatul Asr when he asked his host to take him to a masjid. So he said, okay, fine, after the session we'll take you there. So while they were going towards the masjid, instead of a masjid, my teacher, Mufti Hassan, was approaching a church. He was going to a church. And he said to his host, maybe you are taking us to sightseeing, but Salatul Asr is our objective. Why are you taking me to a church? He said, just hold on, brother, and you will know. Then again, they kept on approaching towards the church till the time that they went to the parking and they were just going inside the church's building. And then that was it. Mufti Hassan said, come on, I need to go to a masjid. And he said, just hold on for a second. When they reached inside the church, they realized that there was no cross. There wasn't any statue of Jesus. There was no statue of Virgin Mary. In fact, there were all those saf and people were offering prayers. And the place where the priest was supposed to stand, there was an imam who was leading the prayers. So Mufti Hassan came back and said, what is this all about? He said, the building laws of England does not allow a place where a church is already being made to be converted into a masjid. But since, mashallah, the population of Muslims is increasing with a very fast rate, we didn't have any other solution other than to go to the Sharia scholars and ask, what is the solution? And they said, no problem. You just remove the non-Sharia compliant things in the church, and then you can offer prayer in the church. Now let's take this analogy towards Islamic finance. We have been governed by the laws that were made by the Bank of England. We are governed by the laws that are made by the regulator, who basically is a conventional regulator. So what Islamic finance has done is they have removed the cross, the statues, all those non-Sharia compliant things like gharar and qimar and maisar and riba, and from an outside it looks like a church. But once someone goes into the transactions and goes into the details, they realize that there are people who are praying. The name of the story is Mufti and the Church, and Brother Humayun insisted me that I should tell this story because he loves this, and it's been very well received and it's been taught in different universities in Pakistan. So my humble request is that we should realize the power of stories, and then maybe that can play a role in capacity building.
Thank you very much. So, in a nutshell, it's not enough that the professionals become aware. The layman has to be aware also. And a powerful tool is the storytelling.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. So, to all panelists, anyone who wants to choose to answer, much of the existing Islamic financial literacy focuses on micro-level issues, personal finance, banking products, and Sharia-compliant transactions. However, the real challenge lies at the macroeconomic level. The monetary, regulatory, and institutional systems within within which Islamic finance operates. How can we extend financial literacy to include understanding of these systemic issues? And how can such awareness contribute to developing a macroeconomic framework that truly supports the objectives of maqasid al-Sharia. So anyone has a thought on this? Dr. Bello?
All right.
If you like.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. First of all, I would like to once again thank the organizers for this opportunity to speak in this conference and for taking a very important title to be discussed in this 20th conference. This is a very important topic. Now, perhaps before I respond to your question, I would like to say that financial literacy conventionally, yes, is about knowing the benefit of a finance, but a conventional finance. But when we are talking about Islamic finance literacy, it goes similar definition that has been given to it by the industry, that is knowing the unconventional finance, because Islamic finance is considered as unconventional finance, the benefit of unconventional finance. But this is not really literacy. That's where we are today. We have been just learning about the benefits. What is more important to optimize our financial literacy, we have to look at how do we get this benefit and how do we avoid any risks associated with this benefit. And when we are talking about Islamic finance, we talk about how do we reap this benefit in accordance with Sharia, and how do we avoid these obstacles or risks that are associated in getting some of these benefits. Now, for the Islamic finance industry to really leverage on the capacity or the principles of Islamic finance, as is being promoted over almost, I can say, 5 decades now, the regulators, all the stakeholders in particular, not only the regulators, I'm talking about the market players, the scholars, everybody has to go beyond just what's the benefit. Everybody knows that riba is prohibited. If you are a Muslim, you read the Quran, you go to the masjid, you hear about all this stuff. But most importantly is how do we go about it so that, because Sharia is all about pleasing Allah. We please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this dunya and we get the rewards for the akhirah. Now, if we continue to do things just the way we take the conventional finance and put it into our own system and just call it now, change the level and call it Islamic finance, we're not doing anything. So we have been building capacity in mimicking the conventional financial system and adjusting it, re-engineering it to call it Islamic finance. That's why the capacity that we ought to have built, we're yet to build that capacity. We have been trying to put a square hole, a square pipe in a round hole and trying to fill in the gap. That's what we have been doing. So that's why the issue of capacity building is coming to stay. We are talking about something that we have been talking about 50 years ago, 20 years ago. Now AI is coming. So we'll now have to play the catch-up game. So we will be moving from, unless we sit down to redesign our financial literacy program and deploy more new strategies and unconventional ways of
authentic ways.
Exactly.
Yes.
Of communicating this financial literacy and teaching this financial literacy at all levels of stakeholders, we are still going to be coming back and discussing the same thing.
Thank you. So, on the topic of macroeconomy?
On the topic of macroeconomics, yes, we have to go beyond just the focus on the products. We look at the entire benefits that comes with the Islamic finance. It goes beyond just, I have a Mudaraba product or Murabaha product that is structured for getting finance. No. If I participate in Islamic finance, what are the benefits? What is the bigger picture for the entire economy? What is the contribution to the real economy? So that kind of literacy level, the optimization of that financial literacy to look at the bigger picture and involve all the fiscal and macroeconomic policies into our financial literacy program, so that whoever is being taught Islamic finance is not looking at the product, but he's looking at the entire benefit of the Islamic. That's the macro part of it.
Exactly. Introduce a new economic theory, maybe.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Anyone else wants to speak? Or should I move on?
No, I would like to actually contribute. You know, when we say the financial literacy should come out with the benefits of Islamic finance, one reason that the industry hasn't grown as per our expectations in a number of countries is primarily because we have not been able to spell out the benefits, right? And the benefits could be on the micro level. This mortgage, this is conventional. What is the benefit of Islamic mortgage? And comparing them. And then macro level. If in a country there is conventional banking system, and if we replace it with Islamic, what would be the benefits? And this is something very relevant to countries like Pakistan, where there is now a deadline. 1st of January 2028, that is the deadline for the full conversion of the banking sector. Someone may ask this question, on the 1st of January 2028, when we get up, the whole system is Islamic. What additional benefit this system would bring to the economy and to the society? If we haven't come up with a distinct economic value proposition of Islamic finance, we would struggle. Right? And the real objective of Islamic financial literacy is to come up with a set of benefits first, and then emphasize upon those benefits, disseminate these benefits amongst the stakeholders so that they are convinced and they come on this side of the equation and help the economy to grow. So I think this is very important, moving away from the micro approach to the macro approach. This is something we, the Islamic economists, have been saying right from the beginning. You have to look at Islamic banking and finance in an economic context. However, in the last 50 years, Islamic banking and finance has emerged as a Sharia/legal phenomenon, which has brought its own benefits. However, if we want to go to the next level, we have to come up with a new socio-economic emphasis in Islamic banking and finance.
Exactly. Thank you very much. So, Dr. Bello, how do you see Islamic financial literacy acting as a bridge between financial inclusion and economic development? Could regulators play a stronger role in embedding literacy initiatives within national financial strategies?
Thank you. I think traditionally what we have now is that the market players are already 3-step or 7-step even ahead of the regulators. So the regulators are actually struggling to catch up with the market players, build the capacity, understand the product that is being presented to them for licensing, and then at the same time also looking at how does this product work? What will be the impact? So they focus more on looking at the consumer protection aspect rather than even knowing how the products really bring this benefit that the market players are presenting to them and claim to provide this benefit. So what is more important is that the regulators, they need to really come up with an enhanced strategy. They need to allocate more resources and more time into deeper financial, or I would like to use the term optimum financial literacy strategy to make sure that, yes, consumer protection is important, but financial literacy is the major aspect of consumer protection. Because when the consumers are literate, they know how the products work and they know what are the risks associated with these products. They will be able to manage and ask questions and follow the transactions even before anything happened.
They become the supervisors.
Exactly.
Yes.
So there will be like self-monitoring by the consumers.
Exactly.
So that's one aspect. The second part is they need to develop a policy to make sure that as a central bank policy or as a regulator, You come up with this policy to ensure that the Islamic financial institutions are fully involved and allocate sufficient resources in financial literacy at all levels. And they deployed not just the conventional kind of methodology of financial literacy, but they also go through the unconventional way of financial literacy. That is, the methodology that they are going to deploy is not just organizing maybe conferences, capacity building, or maybe public engagement. They have to look at the other methodologies, engage the imams, let the imams at the masjid organize sessions on Islamic finance and brought experts to talk about it. I was so impressed last week. I mean, last week Saturday, actually, a day before yesterday, I was in the US, and that's where I stay in New Jersey. There is a Teaneck County. There is one masjid called Darul Islah. The Darul Islah is a masjid in the Teaneck County. What they do is that they organize this lecture monthly. They brought 3 experts. One is Amana Capital, the other one is Apex Capital, and the other one is Home Guidance. They come and talk about give lecture about Islamic finance in the masjid. There are children, there are women, there is everybody, and it was like well organized, and people really benefited. They brought the idea of how Islamic finance work and what are the benefits that the people will get from Islamic finance, both in both dunya and akhirah. So this is a kind of, but who are doing this? Do the regulators actually support the financial institutions to go into this? Then this is where I said that there is a need to have an enhanced policy so that the Islamic financial institutions should allocate sufficient budget, and a KPI is being set for them to be able to intensify.
Maybe through Waqaf, maybe.
Exactly. Not really Waqaf. They have the CSR fund.
Yeah, okay.
So the CSR fund is more than sufficient for them to be able to to do that. And then lastly, perhaps the central banks need to build their own capacity first.
Exactly.
They are doing well. Not only the central bank, the Securities Commission, the insurance regulators, all the regulators need to lead by example. Now, we are having issues with fintech. Who is to regulate fintech? Now AI is coming. So everything is like, we lack the basics of financial literacy on how the Islamic finance work. Now fintech, Islamic fintech is coming. We do not grasp that well. Now AI has come. So where are the regulators? They are the one to really lead the show. And all the stakeholders, where are the Sharia scholars? What is their level of literacy? Do the central banks or the regulators, the Islamic financial institutions, engage with the scholars, with the professors at the university? Do we have curriculum that is well developed and groomed right from the high schools and to the universities that we have capacity?
So we need more engagement with
exactly.
Yes. Okay.
Exactly.
Thank you very much. Professor Muhammad Sharif, how can academic institutions and financial institutions collaborate to develop more practice-oriented Islamic financial literacy? For instance, through dual programs, simulations, or industry-led case studies?
Thank you very much. This is an important question. Unfortunately, there is a lack of collaboration between the academia as well as the industry. And this is clear, and everyone is seeing that. Even in some countries, unfortunately, we find that the industry is somewhere, and at the infrastructure level, I mean, the academia, you do not find any Islamic finance or economics programs offered at the university level, or if they are offered, there is no collaboration with the industry. This one, in my opinion, weakens the industry, and also it's slowing down its development, real development. We're not talking about the growth. And unfortunately, we are seeing even in some jurisdictions, the industry is taking a wrong direction because there is no collaboration with the academia, because academia should take a lead in product development and so on. So I would like here to mention that there is a need for collaboration in 3 areas. The first one is to develop authentic Sharia-compliant products that move beyond mimicking the conventional products. And the second one is to correct the misconceptions by addressing the weakness of the current practices. The third one, to integrate the Islamic financial literacy throughout educational curriculum for primary schools to postgraduate programs. And to arrive at this, there are certain strategies which could be followed, which includes dual degree programs, joint curricula between the Sharia and finance faculties, co-taught by scholars as well as the practitioners, case-based simulations, use a real-world case or labs for sukuk structuring, Islamic fintech, and also ethical risk sharing. Third, knowledge transfer hubs, create university bank Sharia hubs for applied research and innovations. We have some of the examples, but they are still limited, like in the case of Malaysia, as well as we have as well in Morocco. There is a collaboration between the ISDBI and the Islamic Financial Engineering Laboratory at the Muhammadiyah School of Engineering, where they are giving award for the best agent-based simulations in Islamic finance almost, I think, every year. So these kind of initiatives, they should be actually expanded, and they should be available in every country where we have the industry. Otherwise, the industry will not move into the right direction.
Thank you very much. Dr. Humayun, how do you see technology such as AI, gamification, or online micro-learning transforming access to Islamic financial knowledge? Can it help bridge the divide between the expert and the everyday Muslim consumer?
Me? Okay, so
okay.
AI, we had just had a session on AI, and you know, it's a very new technology, and there are some disruptions that are taking place in the industry which are just mind-boggling. So I'll just quote another example of my own personal experience of the power of AI and how the next generation is thinking. So I was traveling with my kids, and we were on vacations for a week, and when we were waiting for a flight at the airport, I asked my younger son, you know what, when we were in the school, after vacations, we had to write an essay. And the essay was my vacations. And he was just sort of just sitting in the departure lounge, and he said, how many words? I said, well, maybe 100 words. He said, 100 words are less. So I said, okay, fine, 200 words then. He said, fine, you'll get it. So I was just strolling around, and after about 2 minutes, I got a WhatsApp in which he had written an essay of 200 words. And that had so many details of the trip that I was just surprised at how can he write it down within 2 minutes. You know what he did? He went to DeepSeek, he gave a prompt, and the essay was there. You know, I was really scared. Because what's happening is that the sort of information that he gave took around 30 to 40 or 50 seconds, and these kids are so good in writing prompts, that's called prompt engineering, that they get the results within a split of a second. I belong to the previous generation. I would rather be thinking about writing an essay, going back, searching for the references. The next generation is not going to study Islamic finance the way we have studied. So what our role is that since the transition generation belongs to us, we must first study AI on our own. And the only way to study AI is not to go to a business school, not to go to any YouTube tutorial. Just go and try DeepSeek, try ChatGPT. And then we can explore that all these things that they are doing, they can be replicated in a very efficient manner towards the education of Islamic finance as well. So one of the biggest challenges that we face is that what is the benefit to the customer? Fine, the bank earns money. We might have gone through a lot of stories where a bank has earned billions of rupees and the government has also got a lot of money in terms of the taxes. But what about the common person who is our customer? Now these are the questions that we have been discussing for such a long time, and this is something where the research of the academia as well as the practitioners should be focused so that we could come up with a business model in which the answers to be given to the common person in terms of what sort of a benefit that they can get. So I'll just quote one quick example. Let's say Islamic mortgage. So the brother just gave an example that guidance people were there in the mosque in New Jersey. Guidance basically has been there for ages, and they provide Islamic solutions for mortgages in the US, and they have terribly failed. They started off 30 years back, and it has not just flown through. Why is that so? Because you know what happens in the US and the UK, Islamic mortgage is more expensive than conventional. So when a common person goes to any other Islamic bank, and he or she goes for the installment, the Islamic banks are more expensive. So instead, they go to the Sharia scholars and take a fatwa that we don't have an option, we can't pay so much of this monthly installment because the rate is higher, so can we go for the conventional mortgage? And now they are applying that fatwa. And all those small banks that had started generating some sort of a business, both in UK and in US and in Canada, have basically stopped providing Islamic mortgage. Now let's take an example. If we start off with the population who are Muslim, go back and design it by the help of the technology that what if our installment is lower than the conventional installment? You know what will happen? Maybe we'll have to sacrifice on our margins, but the volume will go high. And the win will come when the non-Muslim will prefer to go for an Islamic mortgage, not because it's Islamic, not because it's riba-free. Why? Because that gives them more benefit than a conventional product. And that has been happening in some parts of Malaysia because of this product structuring. So I think couple this with AI and the future generation, and I think we'll win this war of the narrative.
Thank you very much. Zahra is indicating that the time has finished. Can I take one question, Miss? Can I give one question? Not take one. Sorry. So to Dr. Dar, what more can infrastructure bodies like AAOIFI, IFSB, and SIBAFI do to make Islamic financial literacy part of their institutional mandates, perhaps through certification or cross-border frameworks?
Now that the time is over, I would like to come up with a simple suggestion.
Yeah, sure.
For yourself, for SIBAFI, AAOIFI, IFSB, and other, other industry building organizations. We have been involved in setting standards. Sharia standards, governance standards, ethical standards, accounting standards, and so on. There is a need to come up with a new set of standards which should be focusing on notation in the teaching in Islamic economics, banking, and finance. Like we have standardized notation in physics. So you pick up any book on physics, E is equal to mc square would be there, right? In case of economics and other social sciences, that notation is not standardized. In some books on economics, interest rate would be R, in some others it would be I. And this, in case of Islamic banking and finance and in Islamic economics, this has created a lot of confusion. If we come up with standards on teaching riba, that standard would actually, in a notation, simple notation would define riba. And that notation would be universally accepted. No one would be questioning this is not riba or this is riba. The basic thing in Islamic banking and finance is that this is riba free. And you ask Muslims, even in this hall, there would be divergence of opinions on what constitutes riba. So we have to come up with unambiguous stances on the basic concepts which we use in Islamic banking and finance. We should know what is musharaka. You know, we have one musharaka which is given in the books, and we have another musharaka which we apply in the banks and other financial institutions. And we call it musharaka. And if we want to call it musharaka, then we should be giving it an adequate name. Like, you know, we had classically ijara. Now we have an application which is called ijara muntahiya bitamli. So we came up with this new term, ijara muntahiya bitamli. We are using mudarba in a variant kind of form, musharaka in a variant form, but we are not willing to give them the names they deserve. So the standardized approach, which should be promoted by maybe SIBAFI, okay, or another, or this could be a combined effort. Standards on from pedagogical viewpoint, standards on these basic concepts and contracts which we use in Islamic banking and finance, so that there is no ambiguity at all. A layman, a scholar, a student, a regulator, and the wider society knows what we are talking about.
Thank you very much. Can we take questions from the public? تفضل, please. Sorry, because we are running out of time, so I have to stop. Yes.
Thank you very much. Always ending time, but still I want to ask a question and a comment as well. A comment, first of all, I would like to pass my thanks to Dr. Imran. I am Dr. Adnan Malik, and I am a professor on Islamic finance at a university at Pakistan. And I'm teaching Islamic finance to bachelor students, MS, PhD.
So,
and
can you give us the question, because we're out of time? Sorry.
Exactly. So I'm teaching Islamic finance through the book authored by Dr. Imran, and it's a great contribution. And his every chapter starts with a story, and that story then gives a clear understanding to the students what is going to be discussed in the chapter. So thank you very much, Dr. Imran. Second, my comment is about my brother from IFSB. He talked about awareness through mosques, masajid. Let me tell you that our university, we are engaged with madaris, religious schools. We have developed a 30-hour course for madrasa students. We go into madaris. We train them for 10 hours on conventional finance and then 20 hours on Islamic finance. And we have been doing it since 2016. And recently, our central bank, State Bank of Pakistan, with the support of all Islamic banks, they have given us a task to go to 70 madaris and to launch this sort of a course. So thank you very much that you have endorsed.
Thank you very much. So if you have a question, because a lot of hands I'm saying.
Okay. So, Dr. Dar, my question is from you, that so far we have been discussing awareness of customers. Now, don't you think that there is a need of awareness of bankers as well about the benefits which customers are looking for towards Islamic banking, like awareness of bankers?
So can we take questions first? Let's finish all the questions and then.
Just a quick comment because of want of time. The more I listen to the subject matter experts that spoke today, the more I am convinced with my definition of what this topic stands for. 3 pedestals: knowledge, speed, and time. While time is divine, the speed is circumstantial, but the knowledge is the cardinal objective for why we are here, and that what should be upheld to be able to align with the speed that AI has brought to us. So while the prospect stands with the quality of the message we have, both in practice, in preaching, and whatever we do, because that was AI carry to project, to advise, to analyze. So the prospect should be within how much have we been able to uphold the amana in terms of the knowledge within the concept of Muqasid Sharia, and also in the practice, so that whatever AI will do will now take lead from what we as human has been able to uphold as.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Yeah, here please. This gentleman. تفضل معلش.
The focus on the awareness here is awareness of the benefits. Doctor?
تفضل.
The awareness of the benefits of conforming to the Sharia principles and teaching. So the awareness of the benefits. We often hear that if depositors are made aware that their risk exposure is different with deposits at Islamic banks than conventional banks, that will lead to withdrawal of deposits.
طيب.
Here we're taking one situation where what is important is to make people aware not only of the benefits, but to make them aware of the negative ramifications of not conforming to it.
طيب. واضح السؤال. Thank you. في حد يسأل؟
بسم الله. Just a very simple question is this. We are seeing the promotion of Islamic banking and finance since 5 decades. But the question is this, the layman once see the products and structures of Islamic banking and finance, usually said that is the replication of only conventional banking system. Now there is a challenge of AI and fintech, and we are moving forward to resolve them as well. My question is this, we are only copying and we are going to resolve the problems and confusions which faced by the capitalism, capital approach. Now, in Islamic finance, you guys like Dr. Imran and Dr. Humayun Saab said in their speeches, Sharia objectives, purposeful Islamic banking and finance, sustainable development for the Muslim Ummah as well as for the world, value proposition between the Islamic and conventional products. So, what type of standardization and principles we are going to adopt to bring the prosperous economic system on the principles of Islamic banking and finance, whereas now only capitalistic approach prevails. So just my question is this, what is the value proposition we are going to achieve and introduce in the market?
Okay, تفضل.
المعرفة تراكمية، والتشريع لما يكون مغيى زي التشريع الإسلامي، الأحكام الشرعية مربوطة بمقاصد الشرع. يعني المشروعية الجزئية بدها تكون محققة للكلي، وإذا تنكبت الوسيلة الغاية تاعتها فمن عيد النظر في مشروعيتها. الشريعة المال في طبعه وسيلة، ولكن رفعته لمرتبة مقصد ضروري وجعلته في آخر الضروريات مشان يكون خادم للضروريات الأعلى منه درجة، وحطت للتعامل فيه العدل، لأنه العدل يؤدي للمقاصد الأخرى التداول والرواج. والعدل كان الفقهاء حريصين على ضبط التوازن بين المصالح المتضاربة في العقود بتوازن مشان ما تطغى، لأنه هذا الذي يضمن التداول والرواج. طب إحنا المنتجات الإسلامية في خبرتنا من حد ما بدينا الراكب، هل إحنا بنتقرب حقيقة مع مرور الزمن من مقاصد الشريعة، ولا قاعدين من ركز في منتجات رأس مالية لأنه هو طاغي بنكهة إسلامية؟
واضح.
كمان شغلي ثاني إنه اللي بدنا نحكي فيه مبدأ العدل. مبدأ العدل كان حريصين الفقهاء عليه، وهذا مقصد مهم في الشريعة الإسلامية، وربنا ركز على العدل. طب أنا لما أطلع على مؤسسة مالية إسلامية، رأس مال المساهمين 70 مليون، الودائع المودعين 1,200 مليون، أطلع على النتائج المالية في نهاية السنة، 70 مليون رابحة 15 مليون دولار، 1,200 مليون رابحة 900 مليون، 900 ألف، ما وصلتش مليون.
طيب
وين العدل؟
ماشي.
وهل فعلا المنتجات الإسلامية حاليا في عنا، لأنه لازم تكون في وسائل قياس تقيس العدل، في عنا وسائل قياس نقيس مبدأ العدل في المنتجات الإسلامية؟ شكرا.
ماشي. احنا ما في وقت. إذا حتصر أعطيك الميكروفون، بس ما في وقت والله دكتور. سؤال بس، ما نبغى مداخلة، مو سؤال.
My question to Dr. Dar is the issue of terminology. Actually, we know what is riba. We know the definition of the riba. We know the definition of musharaka. We know, but the issue is, don't you see? The issue is what constitutes a riba. This is the main issue, and from practice, we see that the gap between the economics and the Sharia and the legal people. This is the problem. For example, when we say ijara, the lawyers came out with a concept, asset back, asset base. So where did they get this? And then when you said sukuk, they said Islamic bond, because if we didn't say bond, the market will not understand.
What is the question, Sheikh? What is the question, Sheikh?
The question is the creation of the problem of literacy in Islamic finance is between us, the economists, the legal guys, who are going beyond the terminologies that are there. Is this correct or not?
طيب خلاص أنا stop معلش stop. can you please start answering?
Yeah.
So who wants to start?
So let me take the question. So that was from the brother over here, and he's saying that in reply to your question. So he was saying that optically, as we discussed as well, Islamic finance looks very similar to conventional finance, and when are we going to go for focusing on the maqasid sharia? And this is a question that's been discussed in the last AAOIFI conference as well, and even today that was being discussed. You know what, the most important part is your niyyah. Innamal a'malu bin-niyyah. In the capitalist model, capital is king. Greed is good. They are there for the money. And the slogan is, show me the money. Now with this mindset, no matter if you say riba is haram, no matter if you eliminate gharar, no matter if you eliminate qimar, if greed is good and show me the money is the objective, then the maqasid sharia will be on the background and making money will be in the foreground. And this is where the problem starts. Now, the economic question is that if the firm is not making money and if it's not commercially viable, why would they be in the business, right? So for that, case studies have come up, and one of the best case studies is United States of America itself. Just look at the Silicon Valley, what they have done. They have in fact practiced musharaka in its true spirit. The venture capital companies, what do? There's a person with an idea, and he has got time, he has got expertise, but he doesn't have money. So he becomes the mudarib. Then there is a donor, whether it's the private equity fund or an individual, he comes and gives the money. He becomes the Rabbul Mal. And then the startup culture builds up. They go for taking the risk. Sometimes it works, sometimes it does not. One of my friends said that I have invested in 70 startup ventures, 70. Out of those, only 5 worked. But the amount of money that I went through the 5 have in fact offset all the loss that I incurred on 65. But my friend, the problem is banks have never ever gone through with taking such a high risk because their risk appetite is not in that way. So what is the way? Maybe the banks can allocate a fund where they can make a venture capital investment, test waters, and do the real musharaka that Brother Humayun was talking about. So I think 50 years is good enough a time to experience the way it's been done. Now it's about time to break the norm, take a little bit of risk. Since we copy so many things from the West, why don't we copy their venture capital model and at least start at a very smaller stage?
Thank you. Dr. Bilal, tafadhal.
Yeah, thank you so much. I just want to perhaps not to respond, but to deliver the message that I really wanted to deliver for this session. The Islamic finance literacy is our collective responsibility, all of us in this room. Because we have the regulators, we have the market players, we have the scholars, we have everyone. If we go by the teachings of the Prophet ﷺ, that he said that we should convey a knowledge that even if it is a single word that we have learned to our fellow Muslim brothers, we will not be having this problem of financial literacy, we will not be having problem of this Islamic finance industry. If I'm to ask here, myself, all of us here, the scholars, even the Brother Omar, the Secretary General of IOP, how many of us, our families first, knows about Islamic finance? I'm sure you will find that a Sharia scholar who has been given fatwa to the Islamic banks, his family doesn't even know what is musharaka or mudaraba or ijara muntayya bitamlik. This is something that we have to do it ourselves. So we have to develop a new unconventional way for unconventional methodology to unconventional audience. If we start teaching Islamic finance, you are the Secretary General of Chibapi, I don't know how much your children know about Islamic banking, Islamic finance. We have this collective responsibility. It's our own responsibility. Otherwise, we'll come back in the next 10 years, if we're alive, to discuss about the same issue of financial literacy, Islamic finance literacy. So it is our responsibility to now take it upon us. You have neighbors, you have friends. You don't have to wait for a conventional platform to teach Islamic finance or somebody to invite you to speak on Islamic finance. Organize your neighbors, organize your family members, family meetings, children, tell them about Islamic finance. That's the only one way that we can be able to communicate and develop financial literacy. And this is a global message, not only for the members in this audience. If we all do that, then our industry will strive. If I know better model of Islamic finance, I can engage with my neighbor. He can come back and tell me that I went to Bank A and they told me this how the finance. We will have the conversation. Islamic finance will be our lifestyle. So this is the message that I really wanted to.
Thank you, Dr. Bello.
Thank you.
I have to conclude. My last statement will be the power of the layman is the most optimum power if he has the knowledge. So the change will come from them. We saw a lot of scholars, we saw a lot of practitioners in the machine inside of the industry. They could not do the change. The change will come from the layman, and we need to focus on educating them and make them well aware of what is real Islamic finance, what is real fiqh, what is real Islamic economy. They will push the regulator, they will push the financial institution.
Absolutely.
They will make the change. Thank you very much, everyone. جزاكم الله خير على حسن الاستماع. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Thank you very much. جزاكم الله خير.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the first day of AAOIFI-IsDB 20th Annual Islamic Banking and Finance Conference. Thank you very much for your participation throughout the day, and we are looking forward to meeting you tomorrow 9 a.m. sharp for another set of inspiring stories and sessions. في أمان الله.